Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be going through all of this week's Disney Plus news. So we're going to be talking about what's coming up in November, where we talk about Y: The Last Man being cancelled, sharing our thoughts on Only Murders in the Building finale, plus loads more bits and pieces that have been announced, like some shuffling of some release dates, etc. But before we go any further, a couple of bits of housekeeping if you haven't already done so. Make sure you are subscribed to the audio or video platforms, either Spotify or iTunes. You can also find us on YouTube. Remember to go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Bookmark, favorite, subscribe to the email, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, whichever ways you need to keep up with our latest stories. And a big thank you and hello to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. It helps keep the lights on, helps cover all of our bills. It really makes a massive difference for your support. You can support us from as little as $2 a month. And if you become a gold or a diamond tier level, you also get a shout out on the podcast. So big hello to the owner, Ben, Raphael, Ice Cream Man 616, Adam, Robert, J Blue, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Adam, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. Well, over on the Patreons, a big hello to Andrew, Jacob, Caleb, Red Mars Man, Aero G, Andrew, Cody, Darren, The Juice, Lester, and Lauren. Obviously, a huge hello and thank you to Sarah for being at the executive level. On that note, let's jump into the news. So, as per usual, usually at this point now, we're going to start looking at what's coming up in November. We got the lists this week for the United States. We also got the UK list. So I won't go through the full UK list. I'll just pick out a few highlights. But we'll go through the US list first off, because that's the most important one. So there's going to be a few things here we're going to be talking about while we move along. So on Wednesday, November the 3rd, we'll be getting some new episodes from the third season of Amphibia, some new episodes of Dino Ranch, some new episodes of Photo Arc and Storm Rising, along with the penultimate episode of Doogie MD. Moving on from there, on Friday, November the 5th, we'll be getting a number of movies, including Alvin and the Chipmunk Chipwrecked, Jingle All the Way, Jingle All the Way 2, which I didn't even know they existed, Prep and Land and Operation Secret Santa. I don't know. I'm really struggling if I've seen that one, because I've seen the other shorts, but I don't know if I didn't realize it was a short.
The only time I've ever seen Prep and Landing were when they were on a part of the Hollywood Studios Christmas where they project them on the wall. I have never seen any of their actual shorts.
Oh, I've seen them, and I'm just wondering if I've seen that one or not, because you've got like there's Prep and Landing, and then there's the Naughty and Nice. I'm gonna have to look to see if I've seen that one. Probably have. Also getting a number of Buddies movies, including Santa Buddies, The Search for Santa Claus, Snow Buddies, Space Buddies, and X-Men First Class. Anything jump out from those two from that week?
Well, one of those things isn't like the others, I suppose. But X-Men First Class was one of the better X-Men movies. I think it was a good soft reboot of the series. The one that followed after it, Days of Future Past, was pretty good too. So looking forward to that. I might even watch it. It's been a long time since I've seen First Class. I'm not planning on seeing any of the.
You want to watch Snow Buddies, don't you? Yes, you do. You want to watch all the dog movies.
If I was going to watch one, don't you think I'd watch Space Buddies? And that seems more my alley. But no, I don't think that's a priority.
I think Jingle All the Way. I must be honest. I haven't seen that one in a long time, so I might give that one a whirl. Looking here on the following week, on Wednesday the 10th, we're getting the finale of Doogie MD. Something might happen by then. I'm sorry. We're going to get some new episodes of Mickey Mouse Funhouse. And then obviously on Friday, November the 12th, it is Disney Plus Day. So loads of stuff coming here. This is basically, I would imagine, the entire month's lineup. So we've got a whole host of shorts, which were previously available on Netflix, like Frozen Fever, Feast, Paperman, Tangled Ever After. There's a load of them arriving. A few that were missing. There's a few that are not quite dropping, but that's the majority of them. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, a new short from The Simpsons, The Jungle Cruise. I mean, those two movies alone, that's just a great lineup itself just for the month. Ciao Alberto, which is a Pixar Lucas short. I'm going to try and pronounce this one, Entre Ladazos, which is a brand new series from Latin America. We're getting the entire season at once. So they're going into I'd say this is probably one of the biggest new releases on Disney Plus that is kind of an international show, which is great. I'm loving the idea that they're giving this one, and we're getting like a global release for this one.
It's not connected to Coco. I'm only asking that because they mentioned Coco a couple of times.
I think it's the granny's called Coco. But it might be something that's just what maybe Coco is like what they use for granny or gran, or I don't know, maybe, who knows, could be completely separate. I think it's just a coincidence. We're also getting Home Sweet Home Alone. A lot of people are excited about that one.
So very excited.
Yes. We're also getting the Marvel Studios 2021 Disney Plus Day Special, which explores the Disney Plus series of the MCU, past, present, and future. So it looks like we're getting a little bit of a preview there of the Marvel ones. We're also getting Olaf Presents, which is a brand new series of shorts where he kind of recreates some of the movies. Getting episodes 1 to 5 of The World According to Jeff Goldblum Season 2. We did get a trailer for that this week. Did you happen to see that one? I
did watch it. Nothing unexpected. It looks like it's following exactly in the steps of Season 1. I was going to say that if it's not coming out with a whole bunch of other stuff the way that Season 1 did, it was a launch title, maybe it wouldn't get lost. But of course, it's coming out on Disney Plus Day where everything is coming out. So I don't know. Yeah, well, we're getting 5 episodes: 1 on magic, 1 on fireworks, 1 on monsters, 1 on dogs, and 1 on dance. Not gonna lie, the magic one looks pretty cool because it's got Penn and Teller in it. So I always like watching them. I mean, I remember them completely being so shocking when they jumped onto the scene. Dogs as well, just seeing him running around with dogs. I mean, I can't say anything more than that. I think that definitely sells me. But yeah, it's just nice to see. It's a bit of a strange one because, again, do you not feel like with this Disney Plus Day, it's almost like you said, they're over jumping each other, and it's easy to lose this in the run of everything. Well, I mean, you've got Jungle Cruise and Shang-Chi coming out on that day. Those, as you said, by themselves are major releases. Either of those would draw people in with nothing else. It's just like, this is Shang-Chi Day, and we're also doing a bunch of announcements. So you've got that. You've got Olaf, which himself is a pretty big draw, I think, especially for younger audiences. And then you've got Jeff Goldblum on top of that. Home Sweet Home Alone. Globally as well, we're getting the first 2 episodes of Dope Sick. That's premiering that day, so that's a big release. I don't know. I just find that I personally feel like they've, in some ways, and it's very noticeable right now, where we haven't really got a lot of fun stuff over the next couple of weeks. It feels like they've just pushed everything back. Where it might have been cool to have maybe Jeff Goldblum dropping weekly for the next 5 weeks, or maybe Home Sweet Home Alone could have come out like this. I don't know. It's a trick. I feel like they just held stuff back for this rather than giving. It's just got a little bit light because there was no real originals for the next 3 weeks, which kind of offsets with this whole thing, really. Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk about these later, but Only Murders in the Building is done. That was one of their big releases. Why the Last Man? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. It's not done, but the interest in it has sharply dropped off due to some news for that one. I mean, at the very least, Jeff Goldblum would have been something to talk about for a couple of weeks until we got to this. I don't know. Yeah. We're also getting Under the Helmet, The Legacy of the Boba Fett documentary special. So this is all about the legendary. So I'm expecting we'll get a little bit of a look maybe there at the upcoming Book of Boba Fett. So and there's. Yeah, I'm assuming between that, sorry, we're stepping on each other there. I was going to say between that, probably getting a look at Boba Fett, and the MCU one, probably looking at Hawkeye. These are going to be setting up people staying with Disney Plus for the holidays. Also on the UK list, they had something called Streams Come True, the Disney Plus Day special. So I'm wondering if that might be, because there's a lot of people been asking about how are they going to announce all this stuff, because on the day they're going to be showing previews, news, lots of bits and pieces. So we're kind of expecting this big presentation. Now, are they going to do it live on YouTube? Is it going to be on Facebook, Twitter? Or are they just going to drop the whole special directly onto Disney Plus? I mean, it would make sense. It's a kind of catch-22. If you drop a video onto
social media, it grabs everybody. Whereas if you pop it on, it would make sense in some ways to maybe tell the Disney Plus fans first and then run it on YouTube at the same time, maybe, or do a live of it. I don't know. They haven't announced any details what they're doing on the day. In one hand, a long stream like, DC fandom or like the Investors Day last year can be good, but also kind of combines everything. So maybe if they spread it out a little bit throughout the day, they might get a bit more news that way. I don't know.
It could be like that Twitter storm that we had a couple of weeks before Disney Plus actually launched, when they were dropping something like every 15 or 20 minutes, and that was it certainly generated buzz, but it also meant that the smaller titles kind of fell through the cracks. I think it would make more sense to just put the special up on YouTube and generate it that way. Obviously, you want to reach the people who are going to watch it on Disney Plus, but this is also a marketing. They want you to go, hey, you're not subscribed to Disney Plus right now, but look, you could be watching Shang-Chi, you could be watching The Jungle Cruise, and we've got Hawkeye and Boba Fett coming up. Look at all the stuff you're missing out on. So I view this more as a promotional than it is for thanks for being a subscriber kind of deal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this works. So hopefully we'll find out this week what's going on, because we're getting pretty close to it now. We're only 3 weeks yesterday. So we're like 2.5 weeks. So hopefully we'll find out exactly what's going on. I think a live presentation builds that community thing of everyone tuning in and watching it at the same time. And so that's going to be interesting to see how this works. But that looks pretty cool. On Wednesday, November the 17th, we're getting new episodes of Disney's Magic Bake Off, Life Below Zero, Next Generation, and Minnie's Bow Tunes. Plus, on Friday, we're getting Muppets Christmas Letters to Santa, Adventure Through the Walt Disney Archives. And this one was originally released on D23 back earlier this year. They put that up for Gold members there first, which at the time was a bit like, what? I know they're paid subscribers and stuff, but it's a bit like, sometimes you question like why Disney they move things around and release stuff all over the place for the sake of it. We're also getting Puppy for Hanukkah, which is a music video, and the Pixar story drops because that's been held up elsewhere. Anything jump out for you that week?
I am looking forward to watching the Muppets. It's always fun to see them.
I'm just looking here. I think there was something here. No. Okay, so then moving on from Wednesday, November the 24th, we're getting Becoming Cousteau, which is a brand new documentary, which is actually hitting cinemas this weekend from National Geographic. I'm actually looking forward to that one as a scuba diver. So that should be fun.
We both have mentioned it several times. Definitely looking forward to Becoming Cousteau.
We're also getting PJ Masks new episodes, Port Protection Alaskan Season 4. Looks like that's been delayed because that was supposed to come out next week. So it looks like that one's been pushed back. Puppy Dog Power with some more episodes and Secrets of the Zoo Tampa. And then we're getting 2 episodes of Hawkeye, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then over the next few days on Thanksgiving, we're getting the first episode of The Beatles Get Back. The following Friday, the day after, we're getting the second part along with Ernest Saves Christmas. I can't believe they've actually dusted Ernest off, because I remember seeing every time you used to get a video shot, there used to be piles and piles of them, and it was like, I never got them. I never thought they were funny. So I even as a kid, I didn't think they were good.
I honestly don't remember if I thought they were funny or not as a kid. I know my father thought they were very funny. I might try it just because I haven't seen an Ernest video since I was like 8. Plus, he was the voice of Slinky Dog in Toy Story, so at least there's that. But this is a low priority item. But I suspect there are people who will be happy to see this. The Ernest movies do have a legacy of sorts.
Yes, and then we're getting Duck the Halls, a Mickey Mouse Christmas special, Ice Age, a Mammoth Christmas, plus the second part of the Beatles. And then on the following day after that, so 3 days running, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're getting new episodes of that Beatles Get Back. Now, before I jump into anything else, there's a couple of things I just want to highlight here. In the UK, we're getting new episodes of American Dad, the latest season. We're also getting The Premise, which is a new FX series that's going to be dropping. There's going to be some other new originals as well dropping in the UK. Hysteria, and I'm trying to think there was another one as well, which I'm just trying to find. Obviously, I said about Dope Sick, but we're getting quite a few different bits and pieces dropping internationally. Also down in Australia, they're going to start getting things like Station 19, Grey's Anatomy, Queens. That's also been confirmed for them. So they're getting quite a few bits and pieces. So the international lineup's a little bit stronger overall. But yeah, what do you think of like sort of November's lineup?
I mean, if you took Disney Plus Day out of it, or if you spread it out, it'd be a lot more impressive. Now that there's stuff coming out almost every week that I'm like, yes, I'm looking forward to that. But stuffing all the major releases onto a single day was a little bit odd, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, like for me now, I'm looking at this list. I'm thinking, right, okay, so I got the Beatles, which I'm interested in watching because, you know, but it's like, okay, cool, I'll check that one out. The Hawkeye must see. That's just a must see. That's the highlight really for the home month. So you got that one there. Home Sweet Home Alone. I'll check it out. It looks fun. And Becoming Cousteau is another show I'm looking forward to. The Pixar Lucas short sounds cool, but like it was like Shang-Chi. I'll watch it again. But I've seen it at the cinema. Jungle Cruise, I had it on Premier Access. So it's a bit like, okay, well those are big ones I've already kind of seen, and it's just kind of a bit like, ooh, okay. I'm much more excited about Dope Sick. I mean, I've seen the first two episodes, but I can talk about them next week. It's, I don't know. It just feels a little bit of like, oh, okay. You know, like heavily leveled up for Thanksgiving with the Beatles. But if you're not interested in the Beatles, you know, I mean, that weekend's a bit better because you got the Becoming Cousteau, Hawkeye, and Beatles. So you got a little bit of a mix-up. But the rest of it's literally like, it feels like Thanksgiving and Disney Plus Day. Those are the only two times we're getting some decent content.
Yeah, I mean, at least for the States, Thanksgiving will be a big watch day. I mean, everyone will be with their families. There'll be stuff to watch on Thanksgiving. But it does feel like they're just kind of making time before Hawkeye and then obviously Book of Boba Fett at the end of the year. And I kind of suspect that's a little bit of what Disney Plus Day is. It's kind of a, don't worry, we know we're in a slow period right now, but we've got these for you. And then if you just hold out another couple weeks, we got Hawkeye. I don't know. It's still not nearly as bad as it was in like January or anything like that, but we are in a lull right now.
It's funny really, because I kind of think of like November as like peak season. Like we're in like peak television season now, like between October and like February is when we get all the big hits coming in, and like I just feel like they've not hit. Maybe it's they have said before they got hit with some delays and some things got shifted back. It's funny really because there's some good stuff on there. I mean, Shang-Chi and Jungle Cruise are two big titles, and I actually think the Disney Plus Day, I think it's probably easily the best day of new content since the launch of Disney Plus. I mean, it is an incredible day. So I don't want to take anything away from Disney Plus Day. I mean, that is really heavily lined up. It just it just looks like they went, oh, we need something from that week, and we take the thing from that week. We put them all on here. It just makes that week look better. And it's like, yeah, but now these 2 weeks have got nothing on.
No, nothing to take away from Disney Plus Day. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who have not seen the Jungle Cruise or Shang-Chi who will be very happy to get it as part of their subscription. I mean, that's the whole thing right now is streaming leeching away from box office sales because you could have gotten either of these at the box office. But they're available. They will be available.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to note here in, like, for example, the UK throughout November as well, we're still getting on the Wednesday. We're getting The Premise, The Great North, Why the Last Man, Reservation Dogs, American Horror Story, American Horror Stories, Family Guy, Bless the Hearts, Last Man Standing, American Dad, and Mixed Dish, plus library content. And we're getting Chicken Squad, Miraculous Tales of Ladybug Cat Noir. So we're actually, that is such a difference when you look at the Wednesdays, for example, like for what we're getting and what Australia are getting, and in somewhere like Canada and stuff. There's quite a few things. There was something else I want to bring up here that obviously is not part of the international or US lineup. Hit Monkey, Marvel's new animated adult series Hit Monkey is coming to Disney Plus around the world on November the 17th in the United States. You can watch it on Hulu. So this is all about a snow monkey that becomes an assassin. and kills his way through the Yakuza underworld. I'm looking forward to this. I've got no knowledge of Hitmonkey at all, no information at all on this. So I've seen the trailer, seen the poster, and I'm like, yeah, that looks good. So this is something else interesting to watch. This is another little thing I am looking forward to. This and Dope Sick. So that's again a couple of big series internationally on Disney Plus.
Yeah, this does look pretty good. I'm a bit cautious considering MODOK looked really good and then it was incredibly boring. But this is a different production team. We've seen some of the action. Looks like it should be a lot of fun. There really is nothing to know about Hitmonkey. He's a fairly recent character, I think only a handful of years old. And he was a joke character. It was literally just a play on the name, and they kind of went with it. And that gives them the freedom to do whatever they want with the character, though. So we'll definitely at least try it, and hopefully it will be better than MODOK was.
And I've got to point this out because it's something... Notice here anything with this poster for Hitmonkey?
I mean, it's got blood on it.
Yep. Other than that, there is no star logo. This is that continuation of what seems to be happening internationally with us. So, they are now original series November the 17th only on Disney Plus. They are kind of moving away from this star branding for their originals. You can, you're seeing this now. We've seen it. I've been talking about it in the last few weeks. We saw it with Dope Sick, but here we are, prime example, Hitmonkey. They are not pushing Star now as its own separate kind of entity now. It's there with the Disney logo slap bang on it. Again, it's just when you see stuff like that, you go, yeah, okay, they've definitely made the change. they've shifted, and it just looks much more simpler, doesn't it? Someone can look at that and just know where it is. Without going, I need to pay extra for it? But yeah, that's another thing I am looking forward to. So there is a lot next month, but it's a very odd month. I think maybe not having those weekly releases is the key thing there of other than Doogie. But that's better. So let's talk now about some other bits and pieces. So this is again some good international news this week. So it was revealed that Hardy Boys, and not the WWE tag team, but the Hardy Boys, which is a Hulu original in the United States, has got an international release. We're going to be getting season 1 at some point, and season 2 will be coming in 2022. So I remember Josh talking a lot about this series being on there, but they've now announced that this will be like an international Disney Plus. So kind of makes sense. Almost like they realized that all of the Hulu originals, it made sense to kind of turn them into Disney Plus originals internationally. Also, Crossing Swords has been picked up for Latin America as well. But things are moving around. But yeah, Hardy Boys, another new show coming for us internationally, and that's always going to be pretty cool. So I thought I'd mention that one as well.
Yep. I never read the Hardy Boys growing up, but I was certainly aware of them. So this is a pretty big name. I have to admit, I had no idea they'd even made a season 1 of this. So cool. I hope that it's good. Maybe I'll try out an episode or two, just see if it's any good. I
know when it came out, there was a lot of people kind of going, why is this not on Disney Plus? Because it's like perfect, like Disney Plus territory. But obviously it was like an external company made it. But yeah, so that one there was pretty cool. It's definitely good to see that one there. Let's now talk about some changes to the release schedules. This week they announced a number of changes. First off, these are for 2022 and beyond. So Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has moved from the 25th of March to the 6th of May. And this then has caused a domino effect for the Marvel movies, with Thor: Love and Thunder moving then from May until the 8th of July. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is then moved back to November the 11th. That then has pushed back the Marvels into February the 17th, 2023. And then that then pushed Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania back until July the 28th, 2023. The only one it didn't look like it got affected was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which are just doing it. I think they're literally about getting ready to film now because they've been filming some stuff for the theme park ride this week. And they've moved another Marvel movie a week earlier. And sadly, Indiana Jones got a bump of a whole entire year. He went from July 2022 to June 2023. So even though they're filming it right now, it was Indiana Jones has got a little bit longer to ferment. I mean, by the time that thing comes out, I just imagine how old Harrison Ford's going to be.
I think most people would be willing to let the Indiana Jones series end with The Last Crusade.
I'm getting very worried about this whole concept of time travel, that the pictures of the sets. I mean, hopefully they're just brawling with like people on a movie set or something like that, because I'm really struck with like the concept of Indiana Jones going, and it's like, I know Indiana Jones was always had a bit of fantasy in it, but I think the aliens, and it's like it was always so old fashioned and like an adventure. I just really not so keen on the idea of them going time traveling. No,
I never saw 4. I never saw 4. I have no intention of doing so.
Yeah, probably for the best. But now there's a couple of reasons for the shift. Some of it as well, I think, with the concept of the writers' strike. There's also was the strike that they managed to avoid last week. Obviously, as well, what that has meant was that the strike they got averted last week. Instead of they now got less hours to work per week because they have to rest. I mean, it's such a. They were really, I think, to be honest, they were just getting to the point where they were pushing everyone just too much to try and catch up. And unfortunately, you cannot catch up on a year's missing production. You just can't catch up at that stage. So, so there's been a little bit of a slowdown in production. You've also obviously had other issues with the pandemic still causing problems with, if someone has to isolate, everyone having to still space themselves out. So that's still slowing things down. Plus, it looks maybe like they've maybe just shifted a little bit out of the winter just to kind of give themselves a little bit of a room. I mean, a lot of other DC fans were saying it's because they've all moved because of Batman. Yeah, they didn't move the entire MCU slate for 2 years because of trying to avoid the Batman. I mean, while it looked good, I don't think Marvel really needed to to move their entire film slate just to shift off a week away from the Batman. I know that would be quite a nice win for hardcore DC fans, but yeah, I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
Let them have the win. I don't care if it's true or not.
The Batman looks really good. I gotta be honest. I love Batman movies. I'm really excited about the new one. I think it looks great. But I think the other thing as well, I think they look like they need a little bit more work on Doctor Strange. I think there's just lots of little delays, and I think they've just given themselves a few extra months to do everything. This might have a knock-on effect with some of the Disney Plus shows. It might be why Miss Marvel got pushed back a little bit. Because if the Marvel's movie isn't coming out now till 2023, they might want to push that. That might be pushed back much later next year. That might be why that's happened, because originally we were going to get it like now. But it would make sense if that's a little bit further away than we'd wanted. But it's a bit of a shame. But I mean, some of the dates, it's just kind of knock-on effect. I think we've gone through so many changes and things. I'm not too worried about it, but it actually gives us a little bit of a nice break. I think once Spider-Man drops, we don't know what Disney Plus shows we've got. We could. It's not like I don't think we're going from the end of Hawkeye at Christmas right through till May. I think there's going to be something dropping in there, be it She-Hulk or Moon Knight or somebody.
I think we probably should keep the expectations tempered on that. If they're going to drop something, it's probably going to be more like a What If style than one of the major live action shows. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I think they're going to have to drop one in that time frame. I think you can't do, if they've got Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Miss Marvel next year. I'd imagine they'd want to get one in at some point before the summer starts.
I would hope
Miss Marvel would make the most sense because it's the one that's been made the first. But yeah, it would make sense for them to at least do something. I wouldn't be at all. I think Book of Boba Fett will keep us going till February, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw something in March. That March might be a good time, and that will run right through March and April, and then be ready for May for these movies.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll find out on Disney Plus Day.
Yes, I'm sure we will. Yes. So there we go. So that is some of the movie releases. It's going to be a bit of a pain, but nevertheless. Right, now let's also now talk about Y: The Last Man. Now, this past week it was and kind of announced by the showrunner that FX has decided not to move forward on a second season. Now, it's currently airing on Hulu in the United States. and on Disney Plus here in the UK. And and the thing is with this one is they've kind of said that they didn't move forward for it. Apparently they had an interview, they had some meetings back in September. We're talking like weeks after the first episode had released. So they didn't have a lot of data. But the trouble is with this series that they started development like in 2015. And it's taken a long time to get through. They had a couple of showrunners leave. They've also had the main actor playing the main guy. He ended up, they replaced him. And then they had the pandemic, which then delayed it even more so. And what that meant was that in October, they had to get all their contracts for all the actors and stuff were due to expire. So they were going to have to pay out, I think it was like $3 million to everyone to like extend their contracts. Now, apparently each episode costs about 8.5 million episode a piece. So that's 10 episodes. So you're closing up to like $90 million on this show, plus probably marketing. So you're looking at $100 million plus TV series. And then you look at like, the viewing, the interest, the interaction with people. I'm not entirely surprised because it doesn't seem like it made a dip on the Nielsen chart. And usually what they tend to do is by releasing a few episodes at once on that first opening day, they're hoping that it's going to generate some buzz with like Nielsen as well, because there's enough minutes to get viewed to get it higher. And it just looks like it all just fell apart. Apparently they have been looking to see if they can find it on another network, but it's a bit tricky because Disney might have to sell the rights to the show to another company, or they've got to make it and then they sell it to maybe like HBO Max or Netflix if somebody else picked it up. We've seen something like that happen earlier this year with The Right Stuff and Rebel, where they try to go off and find homes. Personally, I can't see how anyone would want it. It's an expensive project. It's going to cost them a lot of money. And now, that deal's gone. The date has gone by. Maybe they haven't been. To me, it just feels like this is a dead project now. This is a cancelled show. It cost a lot of money. It took way too long to development. And I got to look at it now. This was a pre-Disney purchase. I don't think FX would have been able to have got this now if they went to go for it. If they were the Marvel, excuse me, we want to buy a DC show. What? It's just like, no. We've got thousands of characters. Pick one.
You could look at it the other way, though, which is, a chance to show up our competitor by taking one of their properties and actually making something good out of it. But yeah, no, having a DC property, yes, it's from the creator-owned line. This isn't part of the Superman universe, so it's not a huge conflict. But at the same time, it's like, we're making this, but DC is the one profiting off of it, which means HBO Max would be the most likely spot for it to end up, since that's owned by the parent company. But I have to agree with the viewership numbers as they are. Warner Brothers is going to look at this and go, is it worth the effort? Probably not, because they've got their own lineup of stuff now. The HBO Max shows, stuff like Doom Patrol and Titans and so on, are actually starting to come into their own. So there's no particularly good reason for them to take on such a huge financial burden for something that's not got this huge audience. Because like, if you look back over shows, the ones that end up getting picked up by another network, and it's very, very rare. Off the top of my head, I can only think of like The Expanse getting picked up by Amazon after Sci-Fi dropped it. A lot of the CW DC shows have kind of shuffled around. Are they on HBO Max or on the DCU? But that's still just shuffling within their own environment.
I think Manifest is like the most recent one that's kind of, but to me, it's always a case of these are like movies that are shows that have got a cult classics that have become popular. Why The Last Man? They didn't even get a chance to get running. And the trouble is now is it's like, this is an ongoing show. We still got, I think, 3 or 4 episodes left to go, depending on where you are. And I'll be honest, for me, it was just along the lines of, I'm not watching it now. I just stopped watching it. I was just it came on the other day, and I'm like, you know what? What's the point? I'm never gonna get an ending, because it was supposed to be like a 4 or 5 season show. It's like, I might as well just read the comic book now to find out really what happened, because it's just like, well, I'm never gonna get the and the trouble is, and I call this the star curse right now. The Disney has released so many series onto Disney Plus this year. Hellstrom, Next, Filthy Rich, was it? That they've all been cancelled. Rebel got cancelled. We also had Maybe not in the same vein, but we had like a Mixed Dish was launched here after it'd been cancelled, and after the second season, the Bless the Hearts launched here after the second season had been cancelled, and it was like, just this constant feeling of like all these shows keep getting cancelled, and then we release them on this because they've been taking too long to get here. Had we got them on the same date that the US did, it wouldn't have been so bad. But it's a little bit like, wow, like half the originals on Disney Plus at the minute on the Star side have been cancelled. For me, it was just on lines of, what's the point? I might as well watch something else, because it's just like, I mean, the show's it's been good, but it's been getting a little bit sluggish in the middle here, and now I'm like, what's the point? And I was the same thing with Hellstrom, where I got halfway through and just kind of the urgency goes, because it's like, well, it doesn't matter anymore. And I think once, how many people are going to be like us, where what's the point? Why, it's not ending, and it just leaves you. Then you're going to have a cliffhanger. Well, I'm not going to know what happened.
Right, and I think this is the first time where it's been happening while the show has still been airing. Like you said, most of the ones that you were talking about, they were new in the UK, but had already been out in the US for, in some cases, like a year. So,
well, Rebel was the only one that wasn't. That was still halfway through the season in the US, and we were like a week away from the launch in the UK, and they dropped it. It was like, okay, you guys have like not even given it chance to get an audience internationally. You're not even giving it a shot.
Yeah, well, it's hard for them to project out how they'll do internationally. I assume that they still operate on the assumption that the US is the main market and international is just kind of a bonus. Yeah. Hopefully that changes over the years, especially now that the international Disney Plus market is expanding, and we've got APAC and such coming up. But yeah, for Why the Last Man, last week we were commenting on how slow it was, and we're like, oh my goodness, it's already halfway through, and it feels like, but we were willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's like, oh, there's a 5-year plan. Yeah. It'll be okay. It can go slow because it's long term, and now it's not. If you are enjoying the show, just to anybody out there, just read the comic. The comic is complete. It's been done for more than a decade at this point. The show wasn't following it closely, but it's close enough where you can just kind of jump in and enjoy it. It's too bad, but
I'll probably just drop it. Probably just drop into Wikipedia and get the cliff notes.
I mean, there's certainly that too. You can get at least find out like what was the cause. Did they cure
I just
it?
think
Were they
just waiting for Iron Man to come back, click his fingers, and all the men come back. That's kind of.
Well, that was the DC Marvel crossover you didn't know was coming.
Yeah, so there we go. So it's just disappointing. I think as we were enjoying it, it's like, oh, okay. So there we go. So that show's done. So we're not gonna talk about it because basically, we're just not gonna watch it. There's other stuff to watch. I mean, we've just had American Horror Story season 10 drop here, and my wife is literally plowing through season 9 over the last couple of days because that dropped last week. But yeah, so there's lots of other stuff to be watching. So let's talk about let's do the fun one. Doogie MD this week actually had a little bit of doctor stuff in there. There was actually some medical drama in this one of showed up big Smith coming in and kind of showing him up that he's not all that, and it's like, I need somebody, and then I don't know what to do, and it was okay. I didn't mind this week's episode. It was probably the strongest one since the pilot.
I would agree with that. Again, because the focus was medical. I wouldn't say that his character was kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's the difference between an OR doctor and an ER doctor, right? Because he's used to being like in a completely sterile environment. He's got full control over everything. He's like Doctor Strange at the beginning of the movie. He doesn't deal with emergencies. Everything's planned out days and months in advance. And then he's in the Hawaiian hospital where they're at. And it's like, nope, this is an ER. People are just kind of coming in, and you got to do whatever you got to do. And he did, though, after a couple of minutes of like, what am I supposed to do here? He's like, okay, well, they don't need me as a doctor. I will just be an extra pair of hands and assist them, the way a nurse does.
Yeah, nothing quite like having one of the top countries surgeons than just being a nurse to a 16-year-old.
Exactly.
A nice use of expertise there. Like I said, I like the idea that they went back a little bit more into the her trying to do something at work rather than boys and cheerleading like last week's, which was just dire. So this week's one was a little bit better. I think because it's the only like Disney Plus originals, but like, okay, I'll give it a benefit of the doubt. But that seemed fine. Again, I quite like the dad storyline with kind of like, you know, him not feeling like he should be in the old class, but he's then the whippersnapper of their group. And I thought that wasn't too bad because I'm not too far off the same age, so it was a bit I feel that too.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's 45. He's in the sunset. I'm like, no, he's not. 45 is in the sunset division. What are you talking about? No,
because it's the same thing with like Lifesaving, which I used to do and stuff. It was usually they used to be called the Masters, and it was that kind of thing. You hit 40 and you went into the Masters division. It was like, yeah. But then again, of course, every year they get a new batch. It's like that thing, and they don't want to go into it. I thought that was cool. I also thought it was quite fun with the kid just like going completely nuts on the syrup in the van.
Don't get high on your own source, as the father said.
As someone that that grew up with a dad, when we had an ice cream truck when I was a kid, with my dad being an ice cream truck driver. So it's I completely understood that. We've all been there. We've all done that. Toffee sauce.
That I have to admit, though, that scene with him just eating all the syrup or drinking all the syrup was up there with like Lord of the Rings eating the tomato in terms of just grossness. I was like, I'm glad I watched this with no appetite, because I would have lost my appetite watching him eat that.
Now, so again, this one wasn't too bad. This one was a little bit of a pickup, but so far I am just finding this show just to be. Yes, it's just a bit slow. It's a bit dire.
This was a better episode, but honestly, we wouldn't be talking about this if we weren't in the middle of a doldrums right now.
Yeah. So we obviously had a big release this week, which was the finale of Only Murders in the Building. So luckily, what they did, because the whole of the Europe was a week behind everybody else, they then went, you know what, everybody, you can all have a 2-episode finale, which was great. So that meant that then everybody on Tuesday got a full catch up, and everyone was able to enjoy the finale. There was no ruining it, no spoiling it. And I'm going to be honest, we are going to talk about it now, but it's been out for like 5 days, so it's been long enough. What a great ending to a series! It was so action packed. There was loads of stuff happening. Everything kind of lined up. There was adventure in there. I wasn't expecting that whole aspect of them. I mean, we did joke about the fact of it being her for the last couple of weeks, but this one, she just like leveled up. And just Steve Martin just being drugged. I mean, he was so funny, especially when he was in that go-kart with the dog pushchair.
Yeah, the dog pushchair. But I think this is also proof of why they used Steve Martin and Martin Short and such like that. Like the level of acting that they had to pull off some of those scenes was really high, and they did a great job with it. I'm particularly fond of I call it the Princess Bride moment, I guess, when they're in the basement and he's picturing himself standing up like Carrie Ewells does. He gets out of bed. He has that great monologue where he's like getting out of bed, and then he's actually still in the dog cart and he can't speak because he's. Because
I didn't see that coming. I did laugh. I thought it was easily the best episode of the season because it built up to it, hadn't it? You'd set that whole thing up, and obviously with the big shock ending, just to set up season 2. I just really enjoyed it. So this has been literally a highlight of the last 2 months. Just watching this every week.
Yeah, the only thing that bothered me about the ending was that shock ending with them all was revealed in the first 5 minutes of the first episode. If you go back and watch, they had the flash forward, and it was but this flash forward had absolutely nothing to do with season 1 at all. What the heck is this?
I suppose it's set up us thinking in a different direction as a red herring.
And I wasn't very fond of that one. I'm okay with the Tina Fey one that we had after episode 4 or something like that, where it's where we got her podcast, which is the only murderers in the building. That one I was fine because that made it interesting. I don't know, that first flash forward kind of bugs me now, but other than that, it was a great episode. This is a really good series. There's a lot of fun. Some of the middle episodes got a little fluffy, let's kind of drag this out. It could have maybe been 2 or 3 episodes shorter and still had the same impact. But certainly looking forward to season 2. This was just a lot of fun.
I will be honest, I think for me, this is one of the highlights of, this is going to be in like probably in the top 5 series of the year. This was such a great show. I'm looking back like now, like every week just watching it and just enjoying it, and just really, it's just something about it. There's something that caught my attention with it. The actors and stuff were sort of fun in it. The story, they were playing it straight but playing it funny at the same time, which was a weird combination. But it just worked. It just worked. I mean, the introduction of when they brought in his stunt double, that was something that's completely random, but it added to it. It's such a great show. This is like a really good recommendation for everyone, on Hulu, or on anyone that's got Disney Plus internationally. Check out Only Murders in the Building. It is one, I think it is without doubt the best Star original like right now. There's just this is top end. This is the top end shows of the year. But just really happy with that one. The finale ended, and you just kind of, that's so cool. That was such a great episode, and that's what you want. You end it on a high, but then lead into the next season.
I'm definitely looking forward to season 2. I already said that. I feel like you could probably watch this a second time too, and see if you can pick up the clues that you missed the first time around. Because now that you know how it ends, they see if they laid it out properly or not.
Yeah. But no, really cool show. Love that one. We also got a new episode of Assembled, which was the making of Black Widow. So this is like a kind of behind the scenes look at how they made the movie. Kind of like, essentially, I would say all the behind the scenes videos that they put on a Blu-ray, they just edit it together into one long edit. And I actually think it works. I actually think this is a far better way of watching it. The pacing seems a bit better. They seem to spend a little bit longer with each person. Because I quite liked all the aspect of the training that they all went through. And they also were able to kind of go back a little bit and look at like Black Widow as a whole, of like how it's evolved. I thought it was a pretty good, solid episode. I've been enjoying Assembled. It is. I think this is much, like I said, it just feel like all the YouTube video things that they would have put together, but it just makes more sense like this.
Yeah, this could very easily be a fluff piece of just like, go watch Black Widow and here's some trailer footage and here's them talking about how great it was. But no, they actually go into it and they talk about why they did things. I think my favorite parts are almost always the special effects stuff. Showing the layering, showing all the things that you miss. Because, we do harp on the obvious special effects, which is normally like people moving. The Taskmaster swinging on the bridge, it's like, okay, that's very obviously a VFX shot. But then you see the background, you're like, okay, there's whole aspects to this that I did not realize were special effects at all. Because they're background pieces, like adding mountains to the camper site, so it looks like they're in the Alps or in Norway or wherever it was they were, and that's a VFX shot, and you don't even notice it, which is what which means it's doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah,
you wouldn't, like you said, they kind of create the area where they want to be. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Solid episode. One of the things I did find interesting was I hadn't quite realized how they connected up to the Avengers movie with the main villain and the daughter. Because it's literally just like a throwaway line in the movie, and then they kind of built an entire movie around a subplot that I completely forgot about.
Yeah, no, and hey, Lucasfilms, take note. This is how you do it. This is not Solo or Rogue One, where they're like, we need to fill in the gap on some completely inconsequential plot hole. No, this is taking a plot point and going, we can expand on that. We can actually tell a story with this. And this isn't the first time they've done that in the MCU. Like the whole 10 Rings thing from the first Iron Man and then the third Iron Man that evolved into Shang-Chi. And so they've been doing it right. Regarding story points, though, one thing that was going through my head on this, though, is very interesting with these behind the scene docs where when they're talking about the story and what they wanted to do with it, how a lot of the times what they think the story is and what we think the story is doesn't always line up. And there were a couple of points where they were talking during this. I'm like, that might have been what you were intending to do, but that did not come across at all in the movie.
I was like this whole thing, like with like all the women fighters being like ballet and all the rest of it was like, okay, didn't even remotely even cross my mind. It was like a load of assassins that beat people. I didn't click that at all. But there again, it's like it is. Sometimes they do. I would say sometimes it's like with everything, and it's not just for movies. I think no matter what project you do, and we all do it, you get too close to it, and you can't see you think or you think that everyone knows what you're talking about, or you've got something in your head, but you're so close to it you can't actually see it. And I think we all do that, and sometimes I think they obviously it's the same thing with movies and TV shows where they've put a lot of effort into like that thing, this thing here is this because of this and this. Yeah, but you didn't actually say any of that, so it's just something red.
Yeah, no. But it goes the other way too. Sometimes you're just like, why is the phone red? Well, the prop happened to be red when I picked it up. That's the entire meaning of it. It was a red phone. But then you'll have some fans going, well, the red symbolizes the anger that he's feeling, right? And like, no, literally, it was just a red prop. That's it.
Yeah.
So it does go both ways.
Yeah.
It can be fun to see what people come up with, though.
Yeah, so we'll get another one of these, I suspect, just after Shang-Chi is dropped onto Disney Plus, and then we'll have another one later this year for Hawkeye. Probably, maybe, I don't know if that'll be on the I'll either hit the week after or the week after again. We still got a what if. We got a what if assembled. I think that one's coming up next week.
And I assume that there will be a Shang-Chi assembled at some point as well.
Yeah, so we got a few of these coming up. So these are usually pretty cool. So there we go. So have you watched anything else on Disney Plus this week?
I was getting caught up with what they do in what we do in the shadows.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're planning on talking about that. I know they announced it's coming over. So I'm finishing up season 2. Yeah. Season 3 just finished here. I haven't watched any of season 3.
I think seasons 1 and 2 either just dropped here in the UK or was coming up in a couple of weeks. It's coming up. We're just waiting here in the UK on the BBC. They had a contract with FX. And it kind of expires this year. So we literally, this is why the FX shows us starting to drop much quicker, because now the contract with the BBC has kind of expired. And the same thing seems to be happening in Australia with Binge, because I think their contract for FX content, I don't know if it expires, it's coming, because FX shows are generally going to be, they're all Disney Plus exclusives going to be here eventually, but we've got that same problem that HBO have, where they just need these contracts to run out that were made pre-Disney Plus. So that one's pretty cool. Don't think Reservation Dogs. Have you watched any of that?
Yes. I watched the first 3 episodes. Well, I watched the first 2 last week, and then third one this week. We were not doing a formal review of that, but I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and then the third episode felt like a bit of a misstep to me.
Yeah, I haven't got around to watching the third one yet. It's the first 2. It just felt very fresh and original. I think that's what I liked about it. It just felt so different. The humor was different, but also the setting and just telling a different kind of story. Because I mean, I've gone right across the US on a couple of occasions and have spent a bit of time out in the center, and it's so different, and it is very different, and we only see only sort of fractions of it, but it's such a different way of life. And I mean, you can attest because you literally live slap bang in the middle, but it is very different from the city life and from the coastal life.
I wouldn't compare my living to what they're going through either, because I am near one of the major cities out in the Midwest. So their town and my city look completely different. That said, I have spent some time out on a reservation before, and it captures it really well. From what I remember now, again, my experience on a reservation was very, very, very small. But I'm really enjoying the series. I'm looking forward to... I don't know. Are we going to talk about future episodes or not? Because if we're not going to, I'll just go ahead and finish the series. And if we are, then I'll be like, all right, I'll go on the...
Yeah, we're on weekly episodes, but it's already finished in Australia and already finished in New Zealand and Canada. So you carry on and watch the rest of it, because it does feel like it feels like an interesting show. I'll be carrying on with it, but it'll be a few weeks before I completely catch up. But again, it's been such stretched out release schedule that it's just like it's no point looking at it like weekly now, because every country's in a different time, and it's always tricky, that thing. But I really enjoyed it. Definitely a highlight to me. Again, another strong FX show for Disney Plus, and obviously on Hulu. It's just really fun.
It's very interesting because a lot of the times it has a fairly straightforward but serious tone to it, and then you've got this random Apache warrior from the Battle of Bighorn, like he's like,
but he's not one of the but he's not one of the main ones either. He's just some random thing as well.
No, he died because his horse tripped in a gopher hole. He wasn't even part of the battle, and it's just like that kind of off the wall bonkers stuff. It's a really different series. It's only half an hour long. Each episode's only 30 minutes long, so it's not a huge commitment. I'd say give it a try if it's on a platform that's available in your area.
Yeah, no, it's a cool little show. Again, definitely one of the highlights on like the original series for Disney Plus now. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this week's episode. Again, a huge thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for your support. And again, we'll do a live chat Q&A on Sunday nights. I'm also, again, just a huge thank you to everyone for tuning in. Check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. And we shall see you guys in another episode. Later. I'd like to thank all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for their support. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month, and you get access to our weekly Q&A and much more.